If you feel lost right now, if you feel lazy, tired, confused, or unmotivated, I want you to hear this carefully. What you are feeling today does not decide who you are tomorrow. People think feeling lost means they have failed. They think because they do not wake up excited every morning, because they don't have everything figured out, because they don't have endless energy and certainty, something is wrong with them. But life doesn't work that way. Every person you admire has stood in the same place you're standing now. Every successful person has had moments where they questioned themselves, where they felt stuck, where they wondered if they were moving in the wrong direction. The difference is not that they never felt lost. The difference is they didn't stay there. You say you're lazy, but are you really lazy? Or have you simply lost a reason powerful enough to move you? Because human beings are emotional creatures. We move because of emotion. We move because of purpose. Nobody wakes up excited to suffer. Nobody wakes up thrilled to struggle. But people will endure pain when they know where they are going. When your future excites you, energy appears. Think about it. Have you ever been exhausted all day, but suddenly your friends call and invite you somewhere exciting? Suddenly you have energy. Suddenly you're alive again. The energy was always there. The problem wasn't your body. The problem was your focus. Maybe you're waiting to feel motivated before taking action. That is one of the biggest traps in life. Motivation is not something that magically falls from the sky. Motivation is created. People sit around saying, one day I'll feel ready. Ready for what? Ready to chase your dreams. Ready to become stronger. Ready to build your life. Life does not reward people who wait. Life rewards movement. Action creates momentum. Momentum creates belief. Belief creates confidence. Confidence creates results. But it starts with action, even when you don't feel like it. Look at your life for a moment. How many opportunities have you delayed because you were waiting for the perfect mood? How many goals have been placed on hold because you thought tomorrow would be different? Tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes next month. Next month becomes next year. And suddenly years pass by while you're standing in the same place wondering why life hasn't changed. Life changed. Time moved. You simply stayed still. The truth is that being lost isn't your enemy. Being comfortable is. Because comfort whispers lies. Comfort says, stay here, you're safe. Comfort says, start tomorrow. Comfort says, rest a little longer. But while comfort feels good today, it often creates pain tomorrow. Growth has never lived inside comfort. Every breakthrough you've ever had happened because you stepped into uncertainty. Every skill you learned was difficult at first. Every success story began with someone feeling afraid and moving anyway. Right now, you don't need to have your entire future figured out. You don't need all the answers. You don't need to know exactly where you'll be in 5 years. You just need one thing, a decision. Decide that you refuse to stay where you are. Decide that even if you feel weak, you'll move. Decide that even if you're scared, you'll move. Decide that even if you fail, you'll move, because your life changes the moment you stop asking, how do I feel? And start asking, what must I do? You are stronger than the voice in your head that says you're not enough. You are stronger than your doubts. You are stronger than your bad days. And understand this, a bad chapter does not mean a bad story. Feeling lost today does not mean staying lost forever. There is another version of you waiting on the other side of discipline. Another version of you waiting on the other side of effort. Another version of you waiting on the other side of action. And that version of you is begging you not to quit. Stand up. Take one step. Then another. Then another. Because one day you will look back and realize that the moment you thought you were falling apart was actually the moment you started becoming who you were meant to be. There are moments in life when you wake up and feel like you are standing in the middle of nowhere. You look around and everyone else seems to be moving with confidence while you feel uncertain about your direction. You see people achieving goals, building careers, creating opportunities, and smiling as if they have everything figured out. During these moments, it becomes easy to believe that something has gone wrong in your own journey. You start asking difficult questions inside your mind. Why am I behind? Why do I feel stuck? Why does everyone else seem to know what they are doing except me? But what many people fail to realize is that confusion is not evidence of failure. Feeling lost is not a sign that your story is ending. Sometimes it is simply proof that you are standing at the edge of a new beginning that has not revealed itself yet. Think about every major stage of life you have ever entered. Before learning to walk, you stumbled and fell many times. Before speaking clearly, your words were confused and uncertain. Before understanding anything valuable, there was always a stage where nothing made sense. Growth has always looked messy before it looked beautiful. Yet as adults, we suddenly expect ourselves to know every answer immediately. We expect ourselves to understand our future perfectly, as if life should come with a map and instructions. But life was never designed that way. The most important chapters of your life often begin with uncertainty because uncertainty forces you to explore places you would never enter if everything felt comfortable and predictable. Sometimes feeling lost means that the person you used to be no longer fits the life you are trying to build. Imagine wearing clothes that were perfect for you years ago, but now they feel too small and uncomfortable. The discomfort does not mean the clothes are bad. It means you have outgrown them. The same thing happens with people, dreams, habits, and even identities. You may feel lost because your mind and heart are growing beyond old patterns. The goals that once excited you may no longer inspire you. The routines that once felt normal may suddenly feel empty. That feeling of confusion can actually be a signal that you are evolving into someone new, even if you cannot yet see who that person is becoming. Many people panic when they feel uncertain because they think they are losing control. But some of the most powerful transformations happen in moments where you feel like you have no answers. A seed buried beneath the ground might appear invisible to the world. To someone looking from the outside, it seems like nothing is happening. It looks forgotten and hidden in darkness. But underneath the surface, something incredible is taking place. Roots are spreading. Strength is being built. Preparation is happening. In the same way, there are moments in your life where progress is taking place silently. Just because you cannot see visible results does not mean your growth has stopped. The danger comes when people compare their journey with everyone around them. Social media success stories and other people's achievements can create an illusion that everyone else has discovered the secret to life except you. But what you often see is the finished picture, not the struggle behind it. You see confidence without seeing fear. You see success without seeing failure. You see smiles without seeing sleepless nights and difficult battles. Everyone experiences moments where they question themselves. Everyone reaches points where they feel uncertain about the future. The difference is that some people understand that confusion is temporary, while others convince themselves that confusion is permanent. There is something powerful about continuing to move even when you cannot clearly see the road ahead. You do not need complete certainty to take your next step. You do not need all the answers before beginning your journey. Sometimes life only reveals the next piece of the path after you take the first step forward. The people who eventually discover their purpose are often not the ones who had perfect plans from the beginning. They are the people who kept walking despite their doubts. They kept believing despite their fears. They kept trying even when they felt lost, because somewhere deep inside they understood that feeling uncertain today does not mean they are moving in the wrong direction. There are countless people walking through life carrying a label they never truly deserved. They call themselves lazy because they struggle to wake up with excitement, because they procrastinate, because they delay important tasks, or because they feel tired before they even begin. Over time, they start believing that laziness is part of who they are. They look in the mirror and convince themselves that they simply lack discipline, energy, or determination. But what if that label is wrong? What if the issue is not a lack of ability, but a lack of a reason powerful enough to awaken the fire within them? Because when people truly care about something, when something touches their emotions deeply enough, they suddenly discover energy they never knew existed. Think about moments in your own life when you felt completely exhausted. Maybe you had a long day, your body felt heavy, and your mind wanted nothing except rest. Then suddenly someone called you with exciting news, invited you somewhere meaningful, or offered you an opportunity you had been waiting for. In an instant, something changed. Your energy returned. Your mood shifted. Your tiredness seemed to disappear. The same person who felt too exhausted to move just minutes ago suddenly became active and excited. That moment reveals something powerful. The energy was always there. The problem was never your ability to move. The problem was that your heart was not connected to what you were doing. Human beings are driven by emotion far more than they are driven by logic. You can force yourself to do something for a short time through discipline alone, but lasting effort often comes from having a meaningful reason. A person who dreams of changing their family's future will wake up differently than someone who feels they are simply repeating empty routines every day. A person with a vision that excites them can work through stress, exhaustion, and challenges because they are not only chasing results, they are chasing something that feels deeply personal. Purpose gives ordinary actions extraordinary meaning. Suddenly, late nights become investments. Hard work becomes a mission. Sacrifice becomes a step towards something bigger. Many people spend years believing they need more motivation when what they truly need is clarity. They keep searching for secret techniques, productivity hacks, or magical advice that will suddenly transform them. They think, if I can just become more disciplined, everything will change. But discipline becomes much easier when your heart knows why you are doing something. Imagine trying to run a race without knowing where the finish line is. After a while, your legs become heavy and your mind begins to question the effort. But if you can see the destination and know why it matters, every step suddenly has meaning. Without purpose, even small tasks feel heavy. With purpose, even difficult journeys become possible. There are also moments when people lose their drive because they are chasing goals that do not truly belong to them. Sometimes society, family expectations, or comparison with others pushes people toward paths they never wanted in the first place. They study subjects they do not enjoy, pursue careers that do not excite them, and build lives based on what looks successful instead of what feels meaningful. Then they wonder why they feel disconnected and unmotivated. Their spirit becomes quiet because deep inside they know they are climbing a mountain they never chose to climb. When your goals are disconnected from your values, effort begins to feel like punishment instead of progress. The truth is that inside every person there is an untapped source of energy waiting for a reason to be awakened. There is a version of you capable of working harder, dreaming bigger, and pushing further than you can currently imagine. The question is not always, how can I stop being lazy? Sometimes the more important question is, what matters to me enough that I would fight for it? Because when people discover a purpose that touches their soul, something remarkable happens. They stop counting how difficult the journey is and start focusing on how meaningful the destination has become. There are days when you wake up feeling completely drained, as if every part of your body is carrying invisible weight. You stare at your goals, your work, or your responsibilities and wonder where your energy has disappeared. You tell yourself that maybe you are just tired, maybe you are not productive enough, or maybe you simply do not have the same drive that successful people seem to have. But then something unexpected happens. Someone mentions an opportunity you have dreamed about for years, you hear exciting news, or you start talking about something you truly love, and suddenly your entire mood changes. Your eyes become brighter, your thoughts become faster, and the tiredness that felt so real moments ago seems to fade away. In that instant, you realize something powerful, your energy was never completely gone. It was waiting for something meaningful to wake it up. Human beings are not machines designed to operate at the same speed every moment of every day. We are emotional beings, and emotions have an incredible influence over our energy. Think about how different life feels when you are doing something you genuinely care about. Time begins to move differently. Hours can pass without you noticing. You become so involved that even difficult tasks feel lighter. You become willing to work harder, stay focused longer, and push yourself further than you thought possible. This happens because meaning creates a connection between your effort and your heart. When your actions feel important, your mind stops seeing them as burdens and starts seeing them as opportunities. Many people spend years searching for more energy while ignoring one important question. Does what I am doing actually matter to me? They keep forcing themselves through routines that feel empty, repeating tasks that carry no emotional connection, and wondering why they constantly feel exhausted. Imagine driving a car with a full tank of fuel, but having no destination. Eventually, you start asking yourself why you are even driving in the first place. The problem is not a lack of fuel, it is a lack of direction. In the same way, people can have talent, ability, intelligence, and potential, but still feel drained because they have not connected themselves to a purpose that gives their effort meaning. Look at children when they are doing something they love. Watch how they can spend hours playing, exploring, imagining, and creating without anyone forcing them to continue. They rarely stop and say they are too tired because excitement itself becomes a source of energy. Somewhere along the journey of adulthood, many people lose touch with that feeling. They become trapped inside routines and responsibilities and slowly forget what truly makes them come alive. Life turns into a cycle of surviving instead of living. But deep inside every person, that spark still exists. The excitement that once made you curious, passionate, and eager has not disappeared completely. It may simply be hidden beneath stress, fear, and distractions. There is also something remarkable about purpose because it allows people to push through pain that would normally stop them. People often endure difficult situations not because they enjoy suffering, but because the reason behind their effort becomes stronger than the discomfort itself. A person who wants to build a better future for their family will continue working despite exhaustion. An athlete chasing greatness trains through pain. A dreamer sacrifices comfort because the vision ahead feels larger than the struggle of today. Meaning transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary endurance. It gives people strength during moments when logic alone would have told them to quit. The most powerful energy in life rarely comes from caffeine, motivation videos, or temporary excitement. Real energy often comes from waking up and knowing that your actions have purpose. It comes from feeling that what you are building, creating, learning, or pursuing matters to you on a deeper level. When people discover something that speaks directly to their hearts, they stop asking how they can force themselves to keep going. Instead, they begin feeling pulled forward by something stronger than fear or doubt. Their energy rises not because life suddenly became easier, but because they finally found a reason that made every step worth taking. Many people spend their lives waiting for a feeling that they believe will suddenly transform everything. They wake up every morning hoping that today will be different, hoping they will finally feel inspired, energized, and ready to take action. They believe motivation arrives like a lightning strike. That one magical moment will appear where fear disappears, doubts fade away, and confidence takes over. So they wait. They tell themselves, I'll start when I feel motivated. They postpone the workout, delay the business idea, ignore the dream, and push their goals into tomorrow. Days turn into weeks, weeks become months, and eventually they begin wondering why nothing in their life has changed. The truth is that motivation is not some special visitor that knocks on your door when the timing feels perfect. Motivation often appears after movement begins, not before it. Think about how difficult it feels to begin something when you are sitting still. The mind becomes filled with excuses and hesitation. A simple task starts looking like a mountain. Your brain suddenly becomes creative in finding reasons not to begin. It tells you that you are tired, that you should wait until tomorrow, that you need better conditions, more time, or more confidence. But notice what happens once you finally force yourself to start. The first few minutes may feel uncomfortable, but then something changes. Your thoughts become clearer. Your focus becomes stronger. The resistance starts disappearing. What seemed impossible while sitting still suddenly becomes manageable once you are moving. This happens because action creates energy. Movement creates momentum. The hardest part is usually not the journey itself. It is taking the first step. Imagine a car standing still on the side of a road. Pushing it from complete stillness requires enormous effort. The beginning feels heavy because nothing is moving yet. But once the wheels begin turning, something interesting happens. The movement becomes easier to maintain. The same principle exists in life. Starting from zero feels difficult because your mind is fighting against uncertainty and comfort at the same time. But once you begin studying, working, creating, exercising, or chasing your goals, the process itself starts carrying you forward. People often think successful individuals have endless motivation, but many of them simply understand that they cannot wait for feelings to lead them. They allow action to lead, and emotions eventually follow. The danger of waiting for motivation is that feelings constantly change. Some days you wake up feeling strong and excited, while other days you feel tired and distracted. If your actions depend entirely on your emotions, your progress becomes inconsistent. Imagine building a house only on days when you felt excited about construction. Imagine training for a competition only when you were in the mood to exercise. Imagine chasing your biggest dreams only when everything felt easy. Very little would ever be accomplished. Feelings are temporary visitors. They come and go. Building your future around temporary emotions is like trying to build a foundation on moving sand. There is also something powerful that happens psychologically when you take action despite not feeling ready. Every small step sends a message to your mind. It tells you, I am a person who moves forward even when conditions are imperfect. It begins changing your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who constantly waits and start seeing yourself as someone who acts. Confidence grows because you prove to yourself that you can move through resistance. Strength develops because you learn that you do not need perfect circumstances to create progress. Every action becomes evidence that you are stronger than the excuses trying to hold you back. Life rarely rewards those who spend their time waiting for the perfect mood or perfect moment. Most opportunities appear while people are still uncertain, still afraid, and still doubting themselves. The people who eventually reach extraordinary places are not always the ones who felt inspired every single day. They are often the ones who decided to begin before they felt ready. They understood that action is not the result of motivation. Action is often the source of it. They learned that the feeling they had been waiting for was never meant to come first. It was waiting for them on the other side of taking the first step. Many people believe that success begins with massive actions, huge breakthroughs, or life-changing moments that suddenly transform everything overnight. They imagine that one day they will wake up with unlimited energy, complete confidence, and a perfect plan that instantly changes their future. But real life rarely works that way. Great achievements are often built through small actions that seem almost insignificant at first. A single step may look tiny compared to the mountain ahead, but every journey in history began with one movement forward. The problem is that people often underestimate the power of small beginnings because they become too focused on the size of the destination. They want immediate results, immediate change, and immediate proof that they are moving in the right direction. When that proof does not appear quickly, they stop before momentum even has a chance to begin. Think about trying to push a heavy object that has not moved in years. The first push feels difficult. Your muscles strain, and it may seem like nothing is happening at all. You might even question whether the effort is worth it because the object refuses to move. But then suddenly, after consistent effort, something shifts. The object starts moving little by little, and with every push afterward, the movement becomes easier. Life works in a similar way. The first workout is difficult. The first page of a book feels hard to write. The first day of learning a new skill feels uncomfortable. Starting is always the heaviest part because your mind is fighting against resistance, uncertainty, and the comfort of staying where you are. Small actions often appear meaningless because their results are not immediately visible. Reading 10 pages today may not make you feel smarter overnight. Saving a little money today may not make you feel wealthy tomorrow. Practicing a skill for 1 hour may not suddenly turn you into an expert. Because people do not see dramatic changes instantly, they become discouraged. They think their efforts are too small to matter. But what they fail to understand is that every action leaves a mark. Every small decision becomes a brick in the structure of your future. Tiny actions repeated consistently begin creating movement, and movement begins creating something powerful that many people overlook: momentum. Momentum changes the way you see yourself. The moment you start taking action repeatedly, even in small ways, your mind begins collecting evidence that you are capable. Imagine someone who has avoided exercise for years, finally deciding to walk for 10 minutes every day. At first, it feels insignificant, but after several days, they start realizing something important. They kept their promise to themselves. That realization builds confidence. Confidence is not created by simply thinking positive thoughts or repeating motivational words. Confidence grows when you repeatedly prove to yourself that you can do difficult things. Every action becomes a message saying, I am someone who follows through. As confidence grows, your willingness to take larger actions grows with it. Suddenly, the person who once feared starting begins setting bigger goals. The student who struggled to study for 20 minutes can now focus for hours. The person who once hesitated to speak can now stand in front of others with courage. This transformation does not happen because people magically become different overnight. It happens because momentum changes their relationship with themselves. They begin trusting their own abilities. They stop focusing on how far they still have to go and start recognizing how far they have already come. There is something remarkable about movement because movement creates possibilities that standing still never can. Even imperfect action has power because it creates learning, experience, and growth. A person standing still gains nothing except more reasons to doubt themselves. But a person moving forward, even slowly, gains knowledge, strength, and belief with every step. Small actions create movement. Movement creates confidence. Confidence creates results. And eventually, those results become proof that the tiny steps you once considered insignificant were actually building a future larger than you ever imagined. Time is one of the few things in life that moves in only one direction. Money can be lost and earned again. Opportunities can sometimes return. Skills can be learned at any age. But once time leaves your hands, it never turns around and comes back. Yet many people treat time as if it is unlimited. They wake up every day believing there will always be another tomorrow, another chance, another perfect moment to begin. They tell themselves, I'll start next week. I'll do it when I feel ready. Or I still have plenty of time. At first, these words feel harmless, almost comforting. They remove pressure and create an illusion of safety. But hidden inside these small delays is a silent danger because time continues moving whether you decide to move or not. The phrase, I'll start tomorrow, has destroyed more dreams than failure ever could. Failure at least teaches lessons, creates experience, and moves you forward in some way. But postponement creates nothing. It keeps people standing in exactly the same place while the world continues changing around them. Think about how many times people promise themselves they will begin exercising tomorrow, start their business idea tomorrow, learn a new skill tomorrow, or finally chase the dream that has been sitting inside their hearts for years. Tomorrow becomes next Monday. Next Monday becomes next month. And before they realize it, years have passed while their dreams remain untouched. Imagine standing on the shore of an ocean waiting for the perfect wave before stepping into the water. You keep watching and thinking, the next one will be better. But wave after wave continues passing by. Life works the same way. Conditions are rarely perfect. There will always be reasons to wait. There will always be responsibilities, fears, uncertainties, and excuses. The perfect moment you are waiting for often exists only in your imagination. If you build your future around perfect timing, you may spend your entire life waiting while opportunities quietly pass by without ever being noticed. One of the most painful things about delaying goals is that people rarely notice the cost immediately. Missing one workout does not seem important. Avoiding one opportunity feels small. Delaying one task appears harmless. But life is not usually changed by one huge decision alone. It is shaped by repeated choices made every day. Small delays slowly begin stacking on top of each other. Days become weeks, weeks become months, and eventually people look back wondering where all the time went. They suddenly realize they are standing in the same place while years have disappeared. The pain does not come from losing a single day. It comes from realizing how many days quietly slipped away unnoticed. There is also a hidden emotional cost attached to delay. Every time you promise yourself that you will start something and then break that promise, you weaken trust in yourself. You begin creating a pattern where your words lose power inside your own mind. Deep down, you stop believing yourself. You say you will change, but part of you whispers, you said that before. This becomes dangerous because confidence is built when actions match promises. Every delayed goal becomes another reminder of unfinished potential, another silent weight carried inside your thoughts. Over time, that weight can become frustration, regret, and the painful feeling of wondering what could have happened if you had simply started earlier. There is something powerful about understanding that the future you dream about is not built someday. It is built today. The person you want to become is created by actions taken now, not by plans stored for later. Every successful journey began with someone deciding that they had waited long enough. They stopped negotiating with tomorrow and started acting today. Because the reality is simple. Time will continue moving whether you act or not. 1 year from now will still arrive. The only question is whether you will meet that future carrying progress in your hands or carrying the same excuses you are holding today. Comfort feels beautiful in the beginning. It feels warm, familiar, and safe. It tells you that where you are right now is enough, that there is no reason to struggle, no reason to take risks, and no reason to challenge yourself. It whispers quietly into your mind, saying, stay here a little longer. You can start later. At first, it does not appear dangerous because comfort never arrives looking like an enemy. It comes disguised as peace and security. It convinces people that avoiding difficulty is the smart choice. And because human beings naturally seek safety, many people begin building their entire lives around staying inside places that feel easy and predictable. They choose routines that require little effort, goals that demand little risk, and paths that protect them from uncertainty. The problem with comfort is not that it feels good. The problem is that it slowly begins replacing growth without people realizing it. Imagine sitting in a room where everything is familiar. The temperature is perfect, the chair is comfortable, and nothing inside that room challenges you. At first, it feels wonderful because there is no stress and no pressure. But after a while, something starts happening. You stop discovering new things. You stop testing your abilities. You stop seeing what you are truly capable of becoming. That room that once felt safe slowly begins turning into a prison. The walls may not be visible, but they exist inside habits, routines, and fears that keep you standing in the same place. Many people stay in situations that no longer inspire them simply because familiarity feels safer than change. They remain in jobs they dislike, relationships that no longer bring them happiness, and routines that slowly drain their spirit. They convince themselves that staying where they are is better than stepping into uncertainty. They tell themselves they will take risks someday when they feel more prepared or more confident. But confidence rarely appears before action. Growth has always required entering spaces where you do not know everything, where mistakes can happen, and where discomfort becomes part of the journey. Waiting until you feel completely comfortable before taking action often means waiting forever. Think about every important achievement in your life. Every skill you have learned once felt difficult. Learning to ride a bicycle probably felt uncomfortable in the beginning. Speaking in front of people may have made you nervous. Trying something new likely brought fear and uncertainty. Yet, if you had chosen comfort over effort, you would never have developed those abilities. Progress has always asked for temporary discomfort in exchange for long-term growth. The challenge is that people often focus on the discomfort of starting while forgetting the rewards waiting on the other side. There is also a dangerous illusion created by comfort because it can make time feel invisible. Days inside comfort often begin blending together. Life becomes predictable, and because everything feels familiar, people stop noticing how quickly months and years are passing. They wake up, repeat the same routines, think the same thoughts, and postpone the same dreams over and over again. Suddenly one day they look back and realize that life moved forward while they stayed exactly where they were. The greatest regret for many people is not that they failed. It is realizing they never gave themselves permission to try because comfort convinced them to remain still. Inside every person exists a version of themselves that they have not met yet. There is greater strength, greater confidence, greater courage, and greater potential waiting beneath the surface. But that version cannot fully appear while living entirely inside comfort. Greatness has always lived outside familiar boundaries. It waits in difficult conversations, uncertain decisions, challenging moments, and situations that demand more than you think you can give. Comfort may protect you from temporary pain, but it can also quietly protect you from discovering the extraordinary person you were capable of becoming. There is something uncomfortable about standing in a place where you do not have all the answers. Human beings naturally love certainty because certainty feels safe. We want to know where we are going, what will happen next, and whether our efforts will lead to success. We want guarantees before taking risks, clear paths before taking steps, and confidence before facing challenges. But life rarely gives those things at the beginning. Instead, life often places people in moments filled with doubt and uncertainty. It places them at the edge of unfamiliar territory where nothing feels secure. In those moments, many people become afraid because they assume uncertainty is a sign they are making a mistake. But uncertainty does not always mean danger. Sometimes uncertainty simply means you are standing at the doorway of growth. Think about the first time you tried to learn something important in your life. Maybe it was learning to ride a bicycle, learning a language, speaking in front of people, or understanding a difficult skill. In the beginning, everything felt awkward and uncomfortable. Mistakes happened repeatedly. Progress seemed slow, and frustration often appeared. There were moments when quitting probably felt easier than continuing. But if you had stopped during that uncomfortable stage, you would never have reached the confidence and ability you later developed. Every skill you have today once belonged to a version of you who struggled, doubted, and felt uncertain. The difference between who you were and who you became was not talent alone. The difference was your willingness to continue through discomfort. Many people never realize how dangerous it can be to avoid uncertainty completely. They spend years choosing only familiar situations because familiar situations feel safe. They avoid difficult conversations because they fear rejection. They avoid opportunities because they fear failure. They avoid challenges because they fear embarrassment. Little by little, their world becomes smaller. They begin creating invisible walls around themselves, believing they are protecting their peace while unknowingly limiting their potential. The problem is that growth has never lived inside places where everything is easy and predictable. Growth requires entering spaces where outcomes are unknown and where the possibility of failure exists. Imagine a seed buried beneath the ground. From the outside, it looks hidden, trapped in darkness, surrounded by pressure and uncertainty. If that seed could think, it might believe its world is falling apart. It might believe everything around it has become difficult and confusing. Yet beneath the surface, something extraordinary is happening. The pressure is not destroying it. The pressure is transforming it. Roots are spreading. Strength is developing. Life is preparing to break through the ground. Human growth often works in the same way. There are moments when uncertainty feels uncomfortable because you cannot yet see the purpose behind it. But sometimes the struggle you are experiencing is preparing you for something larger than you currently understand. Every breakthrough in history began with someone stepping into the unknown. Every inventor, leader, artist, athlete, and dreamer faced moments where they had no guarantee of success. They moved despite fear. They continued despite doubt. They entered situations where they did not know whether they would win or fail. If they had waited until certainty appeared, many of the greatest achievements the world has ever seen would never have happened. Progress has always demanded courage. Not courage because people were fearless, but courage because they acted while fear was still present. There is a powerful transformation that begins happening the moment people stop seeing uncertainty as an enemy and start seeing it as a teacher. Uncertainty tests patience, builds resilience, strengthens character, and reveals abilities people never knew they possessed. Difficult moments force people to adapt, think differently, and discover strength hidden beneath fear. The uncomfortable path often becomes the path that changes everything because challenges have a way of showing people what they are truly capable of becoming. There is a pressure that quietly builds inside the human mind when we feel like we don't have everything figured out. We start believing that before we take even a single step, we must understand the entire journey, every outcome, every risk, and every possible result. This expectation creates fear because life rarely offers complete clarity at the beginning. Most people get stuck not because they are incapable, but because they are waiting for a level of certainty that simply does not exist. They stand at the edge of their dreams thinking they need perfect understanding before they can begin, when in reality, clarity often comes after movement, not before it. Think about how every meaningful journey in your life has actually started. You did not know everything when you first learned to walk, yet you still tried and fell and tried again. You did not fully understand every rule when you started school, but you still showed up and learned step by step. You did not have a complete roadmap for every friendship, skill, or experience you developed, yet you moved forward anyway. Life has always worked in fragments, not full pictures. The mind slowly gathers understanding through experience, not imagination. Waiting for complete answers before starting is like waiting for daylight in the middle of the night while refusing to take a single step until the sun rises. Many people delay their dreams because they feel unprepared. They think successful people started with everything figured out, but the truth is very different. Most successful journeys begin with confusion, uncertainty, and even fear. What separates those who grow from those who stay stuck is not clarity, it is movement. Even small movement creates new information. Every step you take teaches you something new about yourself, your path, and your potential. Standing still keeps you in the same mental space, but moving forward, even imperfectly, opens doors that thinking alone could never reveal. There is something powerful about understanding that life does not demand perfection before progress. Imagine trying to cross a dark room. You do not need to see the entire room before you begin walking. You only need enough light for the next step. The rest of the path reveals itself as you move forward. Life works in the same way. You are not meant to see the entire future at once. You are meant to trust the next step enough to take it. Each step brings new clarity, and that clarity builds confidence for the step after that. The biggest trap people fall into is believing that thinking more will eventually replace action. They spend hours analyzing, planning, overthinking, and preparing, hoping that at some point they will feel completely ready. But readiness is not a feeling that arrives fully formed. Readiness is built through action. Every small attempt reduces fear and increases understanding. Every effort creates experience. Every mistake teaches direction. The more you move, the less unknown the path becomes. But if you wait too long for answers, the fear of uncertainty grows instead of shrinking. At some point, life requires a simple but powerful shift in mindset. You stop asking for complete certainty and start asking for forward movement. You stop trying to control the entire journey and start focusing only on the next step in front of you. You accept that you do not need every answer today, tomorrow, or even this week. You only need enough courage to keep going despite not knowing everything yet. Because progress has never belonged to those who knew everything from the start. It has always belonged to those who chose to keep moving even while still learning along the way. There are moments in life when everything feels heavier than usual, when waking up itself feels like a task and the future seems unclear and distant. In those moments, people often start believing that what they are experiencing right now is permanent, as if the difficulties they are facing have become the final definition of their life. When things are not working, when plans are failing, when motivation is low, it becomes easy to assume that this is how life will always be. But what most people forget in their hardest moments is that a difficult period is still just a chapter, not the entire book. It is a phase, not a destination. Life has a way of changing even when it feels like nothing will ever move again. Think about how many times in your past you went through situations that felt unbearable at the time. Maybe it was a failure, a loss, a rejection, or a moment when you felt completely lost and uncertain about yourself. In those moments, probably felt like things would never improve. But if you look back now, you realize something important. Those moments did not stay forever. You changed, time moved forward, and situations evolved. What once felt like the end of everything eventually became a memory that shaped you, not a permanent state that defined you. This shows that emotions can feel permanent in the moment, but reality always keeps moving. The problem with difficult periods is that they can distort perception. When someone is stuck in struggle, their mind begins to shrink the future. Instead of seeing possibilities, they only see obstacles. Instead of imagining growth, they only see limitation. It feels as if life has stopped moving forward, even though everything around them is still changing. This mental trap makes challenges feel larger than they truly are. But in reality, no situation stays fixed forever. Just as good times do not last permanently, difficult times also shift, evolve, and eventually transform into something different. There is a hidden strength that begins forming inside people during their hardest times, even if they cannot see it immediately. Pressure often creates qualities that comfort never could. When life becomes difficult, people start discovering resilience they did not know they had. They begin questioning themselves, reflecting more deeply, and developing strength through experience. Even though it may not feel like growth in the moment, something internal is changing. Just like a seed under soil must go through darkness before it becomes a tree, human growth often begins in uncomfortable, unseen places where progress is happening quietly beneath the surface. Many people mistakenly believe that success is built only in moments of confidence and clarity, but in reality, some of the strongest foundations of success are formed during confusion and struggle. When everything is easy, there is no reason to adapt or evolve. But when life becomes challenging, people are forced to develop new ways of thinking, new levels of patience, and new forms of strength. These difficult periods often become turning points where identity begins to shift, even if the change is not immediately visible. What feels like being stuck is often the early stage of transformation preparing to unfold. There is something powerful about remembering that your current situation is not your identity. and your present struggle is not your final destination. Life is constantly moving, even when progress feels invisible. The person you are becoming is shaped not only by your successes, but also by how you move through your challenges. Every difficult moment carries the possibility of becoming the foundation for a stronger version of you. And nothing about your present struggle has the power to decide the outcome of your entire future unless you stop moving forward. In the end, a difficult period is never meant to be the final definition of who you are, but rather a temporary stage that shapes your strength, awareness, and direction. Life has always moved in cycles, ups and downs, progress and setbacks, clarity and confusion, and no single phase has ever stayed forever. What feels overwhelming today can later become the very experience that builds your resilience and prepares you for something greater. The most important truth to hold on to is that your current struggle is not your identity. It is only your situation, and situations are always changeable. Even in moments when everything feels stuck, life is still quietly moving forward. Time does not stop, opportunities continue to exist, and new paths begin to form even when you cannot see them yet. Many people look back on their hardest days and realize those moments were not endings, but turning points that pushed them toward growth they would have never reached in comfort. What seems like delay is often development happening in disguise. Your future is not written by the difficulty of your present, but by the decisions you continue to make within it. Every small step forward, every effort to keep going despite uncertainty, and every refusal to give up becomes part of the foundation for change. Struggles lose their power the moment you stop believing they are permanent. What remains is movement, and movement always leads somewhere new.